What's up, you guys? Welcome back to my channel, or if you are new around here, welcome to the channel. Today is a very special video. My idea with today's video is to take you through all the adventures that I went through in 2023. I set out with the goal this year to hike at least 500 miles, and somehow I was able to accomplish so much more than that. This video is to share with you a whole overview of 2023, and I thought it would be fun to share that in my mileage. So share those adventures that I was able to go on and that those miles took me on. At the very end of this video, I want to share my goals and my dreams for 2024. So be sure to hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on a single one of my videos in 2024. My two little legs carried me 809 miles. Now, most of these miles were accumulated through consistently walking around the city that I live in, and through my neighborhoods and local trails, and just staying consistent with hiking or walking on a daily or almost daily basis as I set this goal to hike, walk, or run 500 miles in 2023. My intention was to share that mileage with you on my channel. And with the accumulation of miles this year, I was able to watch my channel grow as well. So this year has been a whole lot of fun tracking, vlogging my miles, vlogging my adventures, and growing my channel. So if you've been here for a while, thank you for being here. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. I appreciate you being here too. It has truly been such a highlight of my year to create these videos and to share them with you guys. I've had so much fun filming and editing and creating this content for you guys, and I'm really excited to share with you what I have in store for this year. So let's begin with where the calendar begins, January. In January of 2023, I hiked 65 miles total. Some of these miles came from just walking around my neighborhood, and others came from hiking around my favorite trails in this area, such as Aspiration Trail, Bear Claw Poppy, Chuckwalla, and the Red Reef Recreation Area. I was also lucky enough in January to take a trip to Hawaii with my friends, where I got to spend time exploring Maui. I tracked several miles throughout this island and had a beautiful time exploring it. We spent time walking around the trails of Twin Falls and swimming under lush waterfalls. We walked the cliffside trail to get to the red sand beach, where we got to see sea lions resting and massive waves crashing on the rocks that protect this beach. We went for scenic walks in nature reserves, and we got to walk the historic downtown of Lahaina before the tragic fire that wiped out this beautiful area. We explored the lava tubes on the road to Hana and got to swim with sea turtles at Turtle Town. All of these beautiful experiences allowed me to accumulate over 10 miles here on the island of Maui. So thank you, Maui. In February of 2023, I tracked 41 miles. There was no major travels for us in February. However, I did track a load of miles in Zion National Park. Zion National Park is about an hour away from us, so we tend to go there a lot in the off season, in the winter months when there's not a lot of travelers or visitors, and the park is nice and quiet and just so beautiful to visit. I walked the Sand Bench Trail, where I got amazing views of the Sentinel. This month I also tried hiking the Angel's Landing Trail in Zion National Park. However, with the icy trail, I decided not to even attempt the chain section at all, and that was probably for the best. I also hiked in Snow Canyon. I did the Padre Canyon hike and really enjoyed that. We had some beautiful weather that day, and I just soaked up all the beautiful views there. In the middle of February, I decided to explore a ghost town just outside of Zion National Park called Grafton, and just after exploring this ghost town, I decided to go on another hike, and I got my car stuck in a mud hole. And it was incredibly stressful, and I spent the whole day tirelessly trying to dig myself out with a stick, and nothing worked. So my husband had to come pull me out of the mud hole with his truck. Let's just say I will not be back Grafton. This month I learned some really powerful lessons on following my intuition and not pushing boundaries, not pushing limits. So February, thank you for the lessons that you brought me. March, 44 miles tracked. March was also a very low-key month. Most of the mileage here came from walking around my neighborhood. However, in the beginning of March, I was able to join my sisters and my dad as they explored ancient ruins and petroglyphs around the Bears Ear National Monument area. It was pretty amazing seeing how people lived just 700 years ago, how they survived off the land, how they communicated with each other, how they built structures, and how those structures are still lasting today. It also made me incredibly grateful for the modern luxuries that we have. So thank you, March. Thank you for those lessons. Thank you for the ability to explore those ancient ruins and get a deeper understanding of how people lived back in the day. April, 77 miles. As the weather warmed up in 2023, I started to get back into running a little bit, mostly around the neighborhood that I live in and a couple miles that surround it. To celebrate my birthday in the middle of April, we went to Kodachrome Basin State Park and got to go camping there and explore that beautiful state park, and we just had a lovely time. This is a state park that I had never been to before, and it was absolutely beautiful. We also spent some time exploring slot canyons in Escalante, Utah, and that was so much fun. At times it was a little stressful as you're inching through really tight slot canyons, but it was so much fun. We ended up having a blast. At the end of April, we took a camping trip with our friends just outside of Escalante, Utah. We stayed at the Lower Calf Creek campground and got to hike to Lower Calf Creek Falls. This was such a cool experience. With all my time living in Utah, I had never done this hike before. It's extremely popular, and so it was so fun to finally go see this beautiful waterfall. My friends and I also took a polar plunge in the little pool that gathers below the waterfall, and it was just so much fun making memories with my friends. So thank you, April. Thank you for those slot canyons that I got to experience and the memories that I will have forever with my friends. At the beginning of May, I did some training to prepare myself for the toughest hike that I had ever attempted up until that point. And though the training didn't exactly go how I planned, it was still really good to get some mileage in at altitude. In the middle of May, Brock and I took our second trip to the incredible country of Iceland. Here I was able to track over 25 miles all over this rugged island. After we landed, we walked the streets of Reykjavik, eating local cuisine and drinking amazing coffee. We made our way to the south coast where we hiked around Seljalandsfoss, the Black Sand Beach, and Skogafoss, our all-time favorite waterfall in Iceland. On the east coast, we explored Skodafoss, Hengifoss, and Studlegill Canyon, one of the most iconic canyons in the country. As we drove to the north coast of Iceland, weather took a turn for the worst, a common occurrence in this area of the world. We experienced fierce winds, plus on and off rain for several days. This cut our time outside down significantly. However, we still managed to explore Kirkjufell, which is one of the most photographed mountains in Iceland. And as we rounded the island and made our way back to the west coast, we spent time in the Golden Circle. We walked around Thingvellir National Park, seeing several waterfalls, and we even got to snorkel between the tectonic plates here. That was one of the coldest but most incredible experiences of my life. I ended the month with more altitude training up at Bryan Head, preparing myself for a beast of a hike. Which brings me to June. June, I tracked 86 miles. I started June by traveling out to the Sierra Nevadas. On the way there, I did a little bit of hiking in Death Valley and got to record the sound of singing sand dunes.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing.
I also got to spend time in the volcanic tablelands just outside of Bishop, California, where my dad found some pretty incredible petroglyphs. And the next day, we hiked Mount Whitney. This is the tallest peak in the lower 48. It stands about 14,500 feet above sea level. This was by far the hardest hike I had ever attempted up until this point. And until I was actually standing on top of the summit, I wasn't sure that I was going to make it. It was incredibly early in the season to try to summit this peak, especially with the record amount of snow that we had last year, but I did it, and I was beyond proud of myself for accomplishing this massive feat. The rest of the month was pretty steady walks around the neighborhood and just getting mileage in near my hometown. July, 50 miles. July starts getting a little spicy around here in St. George. The weather gets hot and my motivation to be outside and hiking, walking, or running gets incredibly low. However, early last year I was able to score a permit to the subway in Zion National Park. So in the middle of the month, on the hottest day of the year, I went and hiked the subway. My approach for this hike was bottom up. I'm not trained in any sort of mountaineering, so this was the only plausible route for me. This morning I hiked for miles without seeing another soul. However, not far from the end, I finally saw one other hiker. I soaked up every ounce of this hike. I had been to Zion National Park so many times before, but I felt like I was seeing a different part that I had never seen before. It was so beautiful. I took a swim in some of the pools to make my way to Keyhole Falls, the very last point which you can hike from the bottom up. Though this hike was tremendously hot, this hike made my entire month and was well worth it. August. 58 miles. Still very hot. Most of these miles came from early morning or late evening walks, the only times of the day where it's tolerable to be outside in the St. George summer heat. However, something happened in the middle of the month, something that shifted the way that I approach life. I set out to accomplish the Trans-Zion hike, a trail that stretches all the way across Zion National Park, from Kolob Canyon in New Harmony all the way down to Zion Canyon. This is a 37-mile through hike. I plan to split it up into 2 days by camping at Lava Point Campground. I had section hiked parts of this trail before and was really confident in my ability to complete it, and maybe just a little too confident. About 10 miles into the 25-mile hike on day 1, I realized that the water I planned filtering to keep me hydrated during this hike was contaminated with a cytotoxin. If ingested, it can make you incredibly ill, or in severe cases, it can cause death. I continued on to find a spring that I knew would be running. However, that spring was 22 miles from the trailhead that I had started on. And about 18 miles into the hike, I became pretty desperate. I made my way to the nearest road and flagged down a car asking for water. They happily gave me some, and I think I may have frightened them. So if you're seeing this, thank you for the water. And also, I am sorry for the circumstances that we met. Several miles later, I found the spring that I was looking for and began to filter water. Then the rainstorm hit. I waited it out under some trees, then decided to just run the last few miles to get to the campground where Brock was waiting for me. The whole experience shook me up a little bit. It made me realize that things can go very wrong on a hike. No matter how prepared I think I am, circumstances can become dire quickly, especially when out in nature. I decided to call off the rest of the hike the next morning and prioritize my health, and most importantly, my mental health. I took the next few weeks off of hiking that month and allowed myself to process what I had experienced and make those necessary changes in my life. I am so grateful for that hike and the lessons that it taught me. September, 108 miles. I regained the trust in myself to make quality decisions. In the middle of the month, I set out on a route that I had created myself. A total of 48 miles in Yosemite.
I am officially starting my backpacking trip here in the beautiful Yosemite.
I started on the Snow Creek Trail. And spent the night at Mount Watkins with the most incredible view of Half Dome. The next day I walked to Tenaya Lake, then Cloud Rest, and with certain circumstances in play, I decided to descend into the valley that same day. A massive hike that forced me to use every bit of self-determination that I possibly had. This trip helped me to see what I was capable of. It taught me a lot about my ability to do things that were uncomfortable. I absolutely loved this solo trip, and this just might have been my favorite trip of all of 2023. I finished out the month strong, going on many walks around St. George. In October, I hiked 127 miles. This is the most miles that I tracked in any month all year long. In October, I got a membership to a local yoga studio where I began going to classes regularly, along with going on my walks. And in the beginning of October, I got a ton of exercise. And I believe that's really what helped me to push myself to do the longest consecutive hike that I have ever done. Mid-October, I attempted rim to rim to rim in the Grand Canyon. This was an absolute beast of a hike. I started on the North Rim and hiked down into the canyon where I got to experience the solar eclipse at Phantom Ranch, which was absolutely incredible. Then I climbed up and out the other side via Bright Angel Trail. I spent about 5 hours on the South Rim, walking around, eating, and riding the shuttles around the national park. Then I hiked from South Kaibab Trail all the way back to the North Rim trailhead. The whole second half of the hike was done in the dark, though I was greeted by the sun the next morning as I reached the North Rim. It was a total of 27 hours from start to finish, and over 53 miles total. It was an absolute butt kicker, but it was amazing to know that I was able to accomplish something of this magnitude by myself. I also finished this month out with consistent workouts and walks that helped me accumulate so many miles. November, I tracked 53 miles. November was a much more relaxed month than October. The weather started to cool off and we began to get a little relief from the long, smothering summer heat. I started this month by securing another permit for Angel's Landing, where I was able to complete the whole hike all the way to the end. This is something that I have done many times, but it has been many years since the last time that I have done it. In the middle of the month, I hiked Scout's Cave, which is a beautiful hike in Snow Canyon, but most of my miles came from walking around the parks here in St. George with my husband. December, 28 miles. This was the smallest mileage that I accumulated in a month. I believe that this was because I had a shift in my priorities. If you do a lot of hiking or you do a lot of walking, you know that it takes a lot of time. If you're not familiar with walking high mileage, you might not know how much time it actually takes. And just to give you a bit of reference, I spent over 300 hours walking or hiking this year. That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of time. I realized that I had already reached my goal of over 500 miles this year. So my priorities shifted, which felt like a really healthy thing to do at this time. Instead of spending time walking, I spent more time with my friends and building relationships with them. I gave more time to my husband and strengthening the bond that we have. I put more time into fine-tuning my YouTube videos and growing my channel. I also had more mental capacity to continue to grow my business. Dialing back my walking also opened up space for me to journal and reflect daily. That has been a very, very helpful tool that I've taken into 2024. We decided to end the year with a last-minute trip to French Polynesia. We had the opportunity to explore the incredible islands of Bora Bora, Moorea, and Tahiti. This was one of the first trips that I've been on that actually felt like a vacation. We had some of the most incredible experiences snorkeling with sea creatures and exploring coral gardens. Though most of our time was spent enjoying water activities, we still somehow tracked over 10 miles on these incredible islands. Miles built up fairly quickly and effortlessly. With consistent action, I was able to not only accomplish that goal, but accomplish way more than I thought was possible in 1 year. Each and every one of my adventures, my experiences, the miles, the trips, taught me more about myself and taught me about how I would like to change, how I can show up different in this world. And I am incredibly grateful. Looking back, I can see how much I have changed this year, and I can see how those different experiences have shaped the way that I perceive the world. So thank you 2023 for all of the experiences, all of the growth, all of the connections that were made. Now, out with the old, in with the new, let's go to 2024. What are my plans for 2024? Oh, it might be cheesy to talk about New Year's resolutions. But I'm a very goal-oriented person. It helps give me a direction and it helps me track progress towards something. I can assure you that I have no mileage goal this year. However, I do have a lot of goals for my adventures and for this channel. So let's dive into those. This year, one of my goals is to go on 6 separate backpacking trips for at least one night. And I will tell you that I have my first one booked for the end of March on the Catalina Island doing the TCT, the Trans-Catalina Trail. And this will be a 4-day expedition hiking from one end of Catalina all the way to the other. I also have several others in mind. I would like to do a trip, maybe backpacking trip to Sequoia, to Joshua Tree. I want to do Kolob Canyon here in Utah, the Salt Creek Trail in Canyonlands, a trail in Capitol Reef or Goblin Valley, or maybe even an overnighter up in the Tusher Mountains. Also, I would love to get up to the Sawtooth Mountains of Idaho or to do the Uintas again up in northern Utah. I'd also like to spend time in national parks this year, specifically ones that I have not visited before, such as Olympic National Park. I want to go back to Kings Canyon and spend more time there. I would love to go to Joshua Tree. I would love to go to Glacier, maybe Yellowstone again, maybe the Rocky Mountains again, maybe a little more time in Death Valley and other national parks that are fairly close that I can drive to and explore for a few days. So you can look forward to that. I would also like to summit more peaks up in northern Utah. So in the Wasatch Front in northern Utah, there are 7 peaks, they call it, on the Wasatch Front. And I've hiked 3 out of 7 of those. This year I would like to do at least 2 more. And my last goal or idea for this year is to do more petroglyph hikes and ancient ruin hikes. I've really enjoyed doing those in the past, and I feel like this end of this year I kind of moved away from that a little bit. not on purpose, just had other things in mind and other things going on. So I would like to spend more time exploring petroglyphs and ancient ruins here in Utah, maybe Arizona, maybe New Mexico, maybe Nevada. There are so many places around where I live where there are remnants of these cultures that I would love to explore and get a better understanding of and just experience. Honestly, I am very curious about what you guys would like to see from my videos. What kind of videos do you like the most? Do you like my backpacking videos? Do you like my petroglyph videos? Do you like my day hikes? Let me know in the comments below because I am genuinely curious. I want to know what you guys enjoy watching. I am so excited for this year and all the adventures that I have planned for this year. Alright, before I wrap up this video, I just wanted to thank each and every one of you. Thank you so much for tuning into my videos. If you are a subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing. Each and every one of you have helped me shape this channel to what it is and what it is becoming. And I'm so excited to see how this channel evolves over the next year and the next several months. And yeah, just really excited, and I'm so grateful to be here and sharing these experiences with you guys. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on another one of my videos. And I hope you genuinely have an incredible year. Alright, you guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.